Hello, good afternoon. As promised, I was doing a video. As also promised that I was going to shave the beard and the hair. Unfortunately, I've been really busy last couple of days, so that's not been possible. So as I said about this video that I'm doing today is general health in regards to mental health. Um, Now there are many people that do know me, and I've said this before that I was born with a heart condition. Um, Known as TGA, or transposition of the great arteries, where basically um, my arteries were in my heart were sort of the wrong way round. So in your body, where you would have the oxygenated blood go from the lungs round the heart and then into the body and then back, sort of like a circle. Mine was like the M25, so oxygenated blood was going back into the lungs, and deoxygenated blood was just that basically. When I was 17 months old, I had corrective surgery to save my life, and obviously I'm here. But in general, I don't think that would have. It certainly hasn't contributed to any of my mental health, which probably surprises me actually, considering that at a young age I was told that I would never be able to become a professional footballer because the constant strenuous exercise would would obviously sort of stop my heart. Um, but recently it's come to the forefront of my general health, as my general health has sort of done that. Sorry, I'm yawning. Sort of done that recently. So sort of at some points it's been really good general health, and at other points it's been really low. Um, and I can sort of look at 2015 as the starting point of that. Now, in 2007, let me just sort of roll back a couple of years there, a few years. 2007, I had my first palpitation attack. I know exactly what I was doing. I was working behind the bar of the Yorkshire Grey. I was serving a lovely lady who I was chatting to, and she was with her child. It was either a son or a daughter, obviously. I can't remember. And then all of a sudden, I just remember blacking out for about 2 or 3 seconds. And the next thing I know is my t-shirt is literally doing that. But once again, that sort of, as I said, that was in 2007. I'd already been diagnosed with depression from then. Um, but that was quite a scary moment, because that lasted about 6 hours. I was taken to hospital by car, not by ambulance. And the manager of the pub took me to the local hospital. Um, so yeah, let's fast forward to 2015. Um, and 2015 was a huge year. I had moved back from Swansea on my own in late 2014. 2015, sorry, and I started a new job. In 2015, I was well on my way of doing really well in that job. I had been praised by sort of many managers, um, liked hopefully by all of my colleagues, and I was really enjoying that. I was really enjoying the job. Then one day, on a Saturday, I believe it was, there was a huge metal on metal clunk outside my house. There's a car crash. I looked literally about 5 minutes before I was due to wake up. I looked out of the window and I could see um, smoke or steam. So I ran down the stairs, woke everyone up in the house accidentally, jumped down the last three rungs of my stairs, which doesn't seem, it's just an innocuous jump. Went outside and saw the guy sort of wandering around. And my immediate thought was, oh God, we've got a drink driver who's now just crashed into the lady opposite. Who's now crashed into the lady opposite. She had metal gates that were concreted in, and the force of the impact basically uprooted her gate and her sort of metal fence, which was absolutely bonkers. I sort of spoke to him, made sure he was okay. I then started to help with traffic. After about sort of 5-10 minutes, the police turned up and told me that I can sort of walk back in. And as soon as I did, I just had this pain in my left leg. And the only way I can describe it is it was basically like having a migraine in the leg. I was in absolute agony. I had to obviously phone work because I couldn't put any meaningful weight on it. I was having to limp everywhere. Going up the stairs, I was sort of struggling to go up the stairs. So yeah, that was the sort of start of a really bad year for me. 2015 was an horrendous year. I had an ablation a couple of months before that car crash, and it transpires that they think that the constant use of going into my groin area for the vein to go into my heart for the ablation may have also contributed to that pain. So it was one of those, it was probably going to happen, just obviously a matter of when, which is a shame because it sort of halted my career for 6 months at my employers. And I was down, very much down. I was very down. Didn't want to do anything. Didn't want to do anything at all. I had to go to the doctors, and when you are told that they don't know what it is, but then they keep giving you diagnosis. So the first diagnosis was that it was a broken leg. That it wasn't a broken leg because I limped all the way from Drove Road to the doctors in Saffron Road in Biggleswade, and yeah, they told me it was a broken leg. And then about sort of 2-3 months after that, I was told it was possible necrosis. Now, for anyone that doesn't know what necrosis is, it's basically your leg is dying, the muscles and that are dying, and necrosis isn't a good thing. If you want to know more about necrosis, just Google necrosis, and obviously people that sleep with dead people are necrophiliac. So it's on. I'm not saying that people shag my leg, but but yeah, necrosis isn't good. My employers, my team manager and her manager, held regular meetings with me. I would meet them in town, and trying to muster up the energy to do that was really, really hard because I was spiraling. My anxiety was killing me because I didn't want to leave the house because I didn't want people to laugh at me because I was having to use a walking stick. And my depression was low because I'd got a whole new bunch of friends that I was seeing on a daily basis, who I was working with, who I was having lunch with, who I was having a laugh with. And we would have meaningful conversations and we would help each other out and things like this. And I wasn't seeing them at all. Um, and I eventually got referred by my employers to go and see occupational health. So I got to see the doctor that they pay, to make sure that I was fit for work or not. And he came up with the diagnosis that it could possibly be CRPS, which is complex regional pain syndrome. The weird thing about that was that as soon as he tried to touch my leg, I did jump back because it was absolute agony. It did feel like it was just horrible feeling on my leg. But he said that, with physiotherapy and hydrotherapy, he actually recommended hydrotherapy. Um, that sorry, when I yawned earlier, it made my eyes water. Um, hydrotherapy. So I went back to my doctor and said to the doctor, I went to see an occupational health through my work, and they advised me that it could be CRPS. Now, without looking at books, and she just looked at me and she said, "Yep, I agree." Okay, fine. Um, so it became that I was being referred for physiotherapy. So that happened, and there was a lot of umming and ahhing. Was it definitely? Eventually, I went back to work. My doctor said, "Look, I had physiotherapy and things like this, and I had exercises to do on my own. Um, I had um, had to do a heat sense on my leg, so one really hot flannel, and to put it on one leg, and then put another one on the other leg to try and make the brain make it seem as though that there is a difference, and to try and fix that difference. Never worked. It was always just really, really hot leg, and then this really, really painfully hot leg. Obviously, you have to do it with cold as well. And then there's like hip exercise as well, because whenever something affects the top of your leg, it can sometimes reach into your hip, which is fine. Sorry, lunge. So with all that going on, my depression was going, and going, and it was sort of spiraling out of control, really, for me. I was watching a lot of. Well, actually, I was just TV was on, and I don't actually think I concentrate can't cannot vaguely remember anything that happened in 2015 apart from going to the doctors, meeting up with a couple of friends, and then getting the go ahead by the doctor to say go back to work. And so I did what's this scheme called Access to Work, and I was able to go to work. I didn't have to get on a bus. I didn't have to get on a train. I was in a taxi. I still paid. Is not the whole journey. How Access to Work works is if you have any form of mobility issue, and you claim PIP, you could be eligible for Access to Work. And so basically, what happens is that they will fund a taxi for you. Now, however, you used to get to work. So if you, like myself, used to have to get a bus and then a train, and I think it was about £277 a month that cost me to do that. So I would pay that amount to it, and whatever the taxes were per month, the government the government pays as well. So in the long run, they're saving money, by keeping you off of benefits and putting you in a paid job and keeping you in a paid job. But also that there is a little bit of money just going there just to make sure that you're not, that you aren't claiming the benefits, that you are working. It works as a favour to you. And as I got back to work, my depression was alleviating. I was becoming a better person. And my anxiety was still going through the roof because I was having to go to work, and there were new people there. And then all of a sudden, this guy that's getting welcomed by quite a lot of people with a walking stick, sort of wandering through, going, "Who the hell's this guy?" So it was sort of a bunch of other people that I was having to meet, having to greet, and having to get to know. And yeah, and in general, my depression has sort of been like this. It has waved a couple of times, but it has sort of flatlined to the point where that yeah, I think there's been definite improvement. But obviously, I know it's still there. There were some days where I feel lower than low, and then there's some days where I think, yes, good, happy days. Mainly the latter is sort of few and far between, but it does happen. Anxiety is doing that, so it's constantly going up. My anxiety issues, and a couple of days ago, I had the migraine, and I went to do some rubbish, just to put some rubbish out. Had my sunglasses on, had headphones in because it was sound that was actually making my headache worse. And I went to unlock my front door and literally just couldn't unlock it. Couldn't unlock it at all. So I just put the rubbish in a corner and just went back to bed, trying to get rid of this headache, and it was just not going and not going. But I made a big mistake by constantly going on social media and talking to people and things like this, because I managed to leave the house yesterday. I went to my parents, had some lunch, and I listened to music on the quiet. The headache was still there. I wouldn't call it a migraine now. I'd just call it a sort of a distant headache. And I still can't now. I still can't nod sort of too fast, and I can't do that too fast because here and here really goes sort of. So yeah, depression. Mental health can be hindered by general health. So obviously, it is sort of scientific proven that exercise helps with mental health in some cases. I'm not saying that it helps every time, but for some people, going for a simple walk or sort of doing 10 minutes on a bike or going to the gym sort of takes pressure off their mental health and actually sort of alleviates some of the symptoms. Other things are trying to do things that you've not done before. I've read that one. So trying something new. To me, that sounds frightening. That would be the last thing that I'd want to be doing. But yeah, but I am looking into it. Obviously, I've got my own exercise bike here. I do exercise. Not that you sort of think about it, look at that. But I do, and obviously I'm trying to up my program to do it. So my first time I was on it, I did 10 minutes just to get into it. But obviously I've still got pain in my knee, pain in my knees, and pain in my leg and lower back. Just chronic pain. It's now chronic pain. It's not CRPS. It is just chronic pain. That was originally thought not originally, but it was thought last year that it could be my sciatic nerve caught in my hip and dying, or a nerve dying. But they then did MRIs and they said, no, it's definitely not that. So fine, fair enough, happy days. So trying to do this exercise with my knees blistering sort of after sort of 30, 40 odd seconds is quite hard. But I sort of managed to work through the pain barrier, which made my anxiety a little bit worse, but made me happy as I stopped exercising. I sort of stopped and I was just like, oh, okay, I feel a little bit better. Worn out, but I felt better. But my ultimate is to exercise in public, so I'd go back to the gym and do that, because I actually enjoyed going back to gym. I think the fittest that I'd ever been was 2014, where I was at a decent weight. I had some muscle definition in my legs and my arms. So yeah, I was quite happy, and I didn't have more chins than, well, than Earthquake from WWF. Well, that's that. As I say, my general health, when it goes up, my mental health seems to go down. Seems to go up with it. But when my general health slips, my mental health slips as well. Apart from the anxiety, which is just sort of constant. And just one question I will answer. I was asked the other day how could I suffer from anxiety when I do videos like this, when I perform stand-up comedy, when I can be in public and make a lot of people laugh. How can I suffer from anxiety? Because I can't think of the term I was going to use then. I actually had it in my head and it's gone. It's basically a plug where I can release the plug, release the valve, and it's the pressure. Basically, it's just pressure. So I can do all of that and don't feel any form of anxiety. But as soon as I stop, I get really anxious again. So it's as if I did 24-hour comedy, I'd probably be okay. But unless that's impossible. Well, anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please like, share this video as much as possible. Please click on any of the hashtags I put with them because they are important. And also, more importantly, please subscribe to my channel, my YouTube channel, which this video is connected to. Toodle pip.